Mr. Secretary, you mentioned, well, the 3 calls that you make to follow up, it could be they just aren't by the phone or they're at school or at work or something. So, okay, so you make the 3 calls and you can't contact either the sponsor or the child. So now what?
Congressman, I would pose the question back to you because
Oh, now what? I mean, did you just shrug your shoulders and go on?
No, that's why we have tried to expand.
What are you doing then?
Well,
I mean,
that's why
as
we've
Mr. Morris
expanded.
said, if it was my child and I couldn't get a hold of them or the person that's looking after them in 3 separate phone calls, I would be freaking out. Now, you're the surrogate parent in this case. What do you do after the 3 calls go unanswered? You're telling us, you're assuring us, these children aren't lost, but how are you following up after that? Or are you?
Congressman, if you'll give me a chance to respond, because you pose a great question, because you and I as parents would want to make sure that we know what's going on with our children. And we make every effort. We don't have
3 calls, and then what after that?
Congressman, our responsibility is to provide care while they are in our custody. Under the law,
Mr. Secretary, you have dropped them off at a sponsor's house. You now can't get a hold of them. That's on you. What do you do after that? What I'm hearing back is you don't do anything. You shrug your shoulders and then send another batch of kids out to another group of sponsors' homes. That's frightening to me, and it's frightening to everybody who has watched this terrible, terrible situation unfold on your watch. Mr. Van Drew mentioned your Unaccompanied Children Program foundational rule and noted that this was a giant step back from rigorous vetting. Failure to categorically disqualify sponsors with criminal or other child welfare history concerns, instead requiring case managers to first consider a potential sponsor's resources and strengths, never mind that they've got a criminal conviction. Barring the sharing of immigrant information for potential sponsors with law enforcement officials, finding out, are these people trustworthy? And weakening the veracity of age determinations of UACs by requiring forensic evidence that indicates that an adult is posing as a UAC, in your rule's words, should not be used as sole determining factor, but only in concert with other factors, and then shifting the burden of proof so that the ambiguous, debatable, or borderline forensic examination results are resolved in favor of finding the individual is a child. That doesn't sound like a step forward in rigorous vetting. That sounds like a step backwards to me. As mentioned, Senator Grassley's finding, and one particularly disturbing case, that one child was placed with a known affiliate of the dangerous MS-13 gang. Now, according to the documents, HHS disregarded multiple warnings by a case manager about the potential danger of the UAC being placed in this home, this rigorous vetting that you're talking about. You were actually warned by the case manager that you were placing this child with an MS-13 gang member. That doesn't sound like rigorous vetting to me. Since January 20th of 2021, when this administration took office, can you tell me the total number of unaccompanied children that HHS has placed with known or suspected gang members?
Was that a question to me?
Yes.
And please repeat the question. I thought you were making a comment.
The question is, how many children have been placed with known MS-13 gang members? We know of one. What do you know?
Congressman, obviously, when we go through the extensive vetting process, we would make sure that what we try to do is place them with someone who will keep them safe. Obviously, someone who is involved in gang activity would not be someone we would consider
And yet you did so anyway after you were warned by the case manager. You've placed, what, 440 UACs with sponsors, 440,000 during your tenure?
We have placed a large number. I don't know if that's the precise number, but a large number.
Well, and again, you assure us that the department undertakes rigorous background reviews of all of these sponsors. So can you tell me how many sponsors have been rejected for failing to pass background checks?
Well, certainly no sponsor who where we flag certain activity, whether it's criminal records, where we flag.
How many have you flagged?
I certainly can try to get back to you with some information on that. I can take that back to my team. I don't have a number with me as we speak.
Do you know how many you've disqualified because of previous murder convictions?
I don't have those kinds of numbers.
How about child abuse convictions?
Certainly none of those individuals, when they go through the vetting process.
What about
will be able to
trafficking in
go
child
through.
pornography? The ranking member reminds me that Mr. Rulli's time has expired. The chair now recognizes Mr. Hunt of Texas.